So it turns out that the prediction that, quote, Brexit will never end turns out to be more and more true as time passes on. Still, we are, 4 months into Brexit at this point, and yet still there is there was massive drop in trade. It still has not returned to normal. The lie that these were just teething problems are not, because we are now getting companies that are just going, we're no longer going to export to the EU, which now means less revenue for them, less investment, less jobs, smaller economy. And if you remember when we quoted that exact same thing from the economist of the expert they had, who said that the best worst case scenario was less exports, less investment, less jobs, smaller economy. That is the current best worst case scenario. And remember, we still not have had the impact assessment released about what Boris Johnson's deal actually means for the future of the UK. That is still being hidden somewhere in Whitehall. So it is of no surprise and shock today that Boris Johnson has come out and said he now thinks that he can, quote, sandpaper the Northern Ireland agreement and somehow make it work. How he's going to make it work, I do not know, because this is an issue that we have covered since the very start of this Brexit thing, since the referendum in 2016, since it was very obvious that the Irish border was going to become a massive problem and a sticking point in all of this. You know, we've said it before. There's got to be a border somewhere. If the UK is not in the single market and customs union, then there has to be a border somewhere. You cannot have a border between the North and the Republic because of the Good Friday Agreement, and you have to have a border in the Irish Sea, which then annoys the Unionists. But then, this was what was said right from the start. This has been the sticking point. And the problem then becomes, if Boris Johnson somehow thinks that he can ignore or get rid of these rules, then essentially what comes into being is that Northern Ireland becomes this almost state-sanctioned smuggler state, because you then have stuff that can go into Northern Ireland and then into the EU from there, or into Northern Ireland and then be exported over into potentially the UK. And that is a huge problem. We cannot have literally a state-sanctioned smuggler state. That just will not do. It will cause huge problems if Boris somehow thinks he can do that, which unfortunately seems to be the way Boris is heading. So before we jump into the news article on that today, please do remember to hit the like and share button. And of course, down below, there is a link to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And thank you to all those people who do support me that way. So, this comes from The Guardian, and the title is, Johnson says UK trying to cut ludicrous Northern Ireland checks. Boris Johnson said he's trying to get rid of the ludicrous Brexit border checks in Northern Ireland by, quote, sandpapering the protocol he signed with the EU in January of 2020. In a TV interview in Northern Ireland, he also said that the protocol had been misinterpreted, and border checks were supposed to be light touch. You can't have that. Again, this is part of the magical thinking that the Brexiteers love to impose and say that is possible, but then doesn't exist. Like I say, this is the whole, as we was it 2 or 3 years ago, where we said that they were imagining like this cyberpunk dystopian border. Well, not dystopian, but cyberpunk border that doesn't exist. The technology just does not exist to do it. So, He said, "What we are doing is what I think is removing the unnecessary perturbances and barriers that have grown up, and we are getting the barnacles off the thing and sandpapering it into shape," he told the BBC Spotlight programme, marking the centenary of Northern Ireland. He claimed the way the protocol had been interpreted did not conform with the clauses in the deal. It has exactly conformed with the clauses in the deal, which specifically state it has to regard the importance of maintaining the integral place of Northern Ireland in the United Kingdom's internal market. Johnson has said that if he concluded the Irish Sea trade checks were not working in the interests of the UK, he would invoke Article 16, which allows either London or Brussels to temporarily suspend the protocol. And according to the BBC, the broadcaster has issued clips from the programme, which goes out on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. It looks as though the EU is going to be very dogmatic about it, and we can't continue to be in an absurd situation, and you can't bring in the rose bushes with British soil into Northern Ireland. You can't bring British sausages into Northern Ireland. Then, frankly, we're going to have to take further steps, Johnson said. Everyone said this is what would happen. This is the classic example of experts warning, if you do this, this is what the consequence will be. You are saying, and as we have said before, you are saying that there is this solution. What is this solution going to be? The solution that this becomes a, quote, light touch border does not pass any sort of muster at all, because you're essentially hoping that people will trade on the honour system and that companies will, abide by the rules when there's no one to check that makes sure everyone's playing the same game. And once again, that issue of Northern Ireland becoming a state-sanctioned smuggler state becomes an issue. Anyway, the BBC later on Tuesday will release the results of an opinion poll it's commissioned on both sides of the Irish border on whether the Brexit protocol should be scrapped. Invoking Article 16 would be hugely confrontational, and relations with the EU have yet to recover after an official in Brussels threatened to move in January in relation to vaccine supplies. Officials in London and Brussels are engaging in intense technical talks to smooth the application of the protocol, which has been opposed by unionists and contributed to loyalist rioting at Easter. Last week, the European Commission Vice President Marcos de Solveig described the meeting with Brexit Minister Lord Frost as productive. The Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin told Spotlight said that it was overly dramatic for anyone to claim that the protocol was tearing the UK apart. He said that there is an appearance to be that some signs that the unionists who are campaigning to have the protocol scrapped would try to make the protocol work. Both Martin and Johnson were also asked about the prospect of a referendum on a united Ireland. Johnson declared that there would be no such border poll for, quote, a very, very long time to come, while Martin also denounced the prospect of a referendum in the near future, describing it as an explosive and divisive. Johnson said he would prefer people within the UK to think collectively about what they can do together, rather than concentrating on how they can split themselves apart, the BBC reported. A referendum is provided for under the Good Friday Agreement, with UK law enabling a vote in Northern Ireland in the Northern Ireland Act of 1988. It states that if any time it appears likely to him that the Northern Ireland Secretary that the majority of those voting would express a wish that the Northern Ireland should cease to be a part of the United Kingdom and form part of United Ireland, the government will enable a border poll. So, there would also be, at the same time, be a referendum south of the border on a United Ireland, were this order to be given by the British government. So, as always with this case, Johnson has no idea what he's doing. He has no idea what he's talking about. He is not prepared to make this decision. What he is after, really, at the moment, is what I suspect is he's trying to appease the unionists, because the unionists, as we saw during Theresa May's period, are a great coalition partner. And if they should fall short of the required numbers to get a majority in Parliament again, then they can get the DUP to back them up. So it is a very good idea to try and get unionists on the Conservative side. But I think it's very likely, there could be a border poll. I don't think it will happen, but if you remember, there was the guy who we quoted, I think, from the Irish Times, who said that the Irish government should be preparing for a border poll to happen within the next year. And of course, we don't know, obviously, what will happen, what the consequences of that be. Like I say, a lot of people, as I've said before, the idea of, quote, a united Ireland would not see violence on Ireland cease. I think, as we've seen, it was the unionists who were rioting there. And the only real solution to this problem, as we have stated many, many times, is if the UK decided that it was going to rejoin the customs union, single market and customs union. That is the only way to solve this problem. If we do that, no border. Easy, job done, problem solved. Literally, that's all it takes. And at the moment, the Conservatives are trying themselves, I think, in a way to try and prove that either A, the protocol doesn't work and then they can just scrap it, which I think is very possible. Like I say, if Boris Johnson thinks that it is a political possibility and politically good for him to completely scrap the whole deal that he said was absolutely fantastic and that he signed literally only a couple of months ago, then he will absolutely go for it. And especially if it means that he looks good in the eyes of the Brexiteers, because again, to the Brexit supporting public, this is a fantastic opportunity to show, oh, look, it's Boris showing, giving the EU what for. And as always, the idea that this can be simply done or smoothed over or sandpapered, as Boris Johnson described it, is completely false. This is a really complex situation that does not have simple solutions. Well, there is the simple solution. It's rejoining the single market customs union. That is the only way to solve this problem. At the moment, the Conservatives have not proposed any solutions that would not involve rejoining the single market customs union. That is the only solution that is viable that will solve this instantly. And yet, as we've said before, when we rejoin that, the question will then become, well, why aren't we full members of the EU? And as always, the facts of trade gravity and the fact that we are a European nation and how much we rely on EU trade will be proved immeasurable in the time to come. So, as we've always said, the more damage Brexit does, the faster we end up rejoining the EU. So, as always, thanks for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below, there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And thank you to all those people that do support me that way. And as always, we'll see you all next time.